Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Kegley. It was quite a game tonight over in Bloomington, Indiana. I did not see the Illini doing this. I'm really surprised at how well they played. At the same time, I look at the construction of the Indiana team, and I just think that the value of spreading out a defense.
Testing 1, 2.
Good.
Yes, I'm trying to.
So,
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I do think that what I see is this was a team that I think Indiana's fatally flawed. I think they've built a team that doesn't have the ability to shoot from deep, and they don't have the ability to spread a defense out. And in today's basketball, kid, I don't know if you can win like that.
You can, and Mike, and you're not going to. This was just a bad performance from Indiana. It was a great performance by the Illini. Extremely impressed with them, with what happened. With the USC game, I'm loving the fact that they came out and how well they played, and it was just a good overall performance for Illinois, Mike. There's a lot to unwind here, and just with the game within itself, the individual play, just a great overall game.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. The second half started off with Illinois, being up by 28 points or 30 points, and they got 7 of the first 8 fouls were called against Illinois. The referees gave them an opening to make the game close. They couldn't get it closer than 16, and then Illinois just moved on past them. I thought that was a heck of a demonstration by this Illini team of really being able to go out there and make things happen in a game that at least during that part of tested them, because they could have easily broke and that could have turned into a real game.
Mike, let's just, kind of unpack what you just said there. They tried to make it a game. The worst call of the entire night was the 4th foul called on KJ. I don't know. I mean, we clearly saw the Indiana Hoosier guy hook him, grab him. I don't even think KJ went over his back. And I think they did everything they could to make the game close. But I think the magic of Mike Woodson was just not enough to help them win. I mean, it was just really, really bad performance from them. And I don't like to see officials try to make the game close. This is big boy basketball. If you're getting beat by 30, it happens. Like Illinois was mad. Some of the fans were mad when I was there Saturday when USC dunked the basketball with 1 second on the clock. Don't lose a game. Don't put yourself in that position. So it's big boy basketball, and I'm really curious to hear what Mike Woodson's going to say in his post-game press conference. I know this is always a topic, Mike, always a topic when you don't do the handshake, and I would love to know what Mike Woodson said to Brad Underwood, because Brad was probably going to shake hands, and Mike said something to him, and then Brad turned around and pointed right away. And people have mixed feelings on that. Tonight, I wouldn't have done it, and I'm glad. I think it was smart that they didn't do it.
Yeah, I thought both coaches were smart there. Look, I had a hard time right after the heat of battle congratulating somebody for kicking my ass, and I know a lot of people, are challenged by that. And to me, it's like in a situation where you've just had tempers flare, it's funny because we haven't seen Tomislav upset at all at any point during a season. I'm not certain what Goody said or did, but boy, did he react to it, which then got him for the first time ever getting all in, Goody's face. It really, whenever I see guys act differently than they normally do, it makes me wonder what was going on. But there had to be something said to trigger that type of response. I thought it was. I'd love to be a fly on the wall or have a microphone, be a little closer to the court to hear what was going on back and forth there, kid.
Well, Mike, here's my thing. I think it started in the first half with Trey White. the technical foul that Trey White had in the first half, Luke Goody was there. Now, I know what kind of person he is, and you're not going to get me saying anything bad about the kid. I liked him when he was at Illinois, and I still like him. He's my fishing buddy. But I think there was some jawing going on because when Trey White kind of took that cheap shot, and it was, he took a shot at his head, he missed, and what have you. But then with the chirping with Ibisic, you can tell that he was frustrated. I think this game meant a lot to him, which I'm sure probably did. I'm glad that he didn't get involved with the physical part of it. But for a guy as nice as Ibisic is, I'm going to tell you, something was said. And I will tell you this. I did talk to Ben Gibbs Lawhorn, and we had a conversation about a week ago. It was weird, really weird about guys from Croatia. He said to me, they're built different. They're nice guys, but when they get mad, it's ugly. His roommate was one of those guys, and when they got mad, practice was shut down. You saw a side of Ibisic tonight that I've never seen before. So maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know. I think what Indiana did, Obalo in the end, was so classless. I mean, he's going to sit for that. There's no way the league's not going to sit him. He tried to throw a little mini punch. Regardless of Indiana fans like hearing that or not, he did.
Well, yeah, it was only not a punch because he was too far away and going over a couple of people. So, I mean, it was just a dumb play. And look, kids do things, and folks, look, I have fun, poking Indiana fans after Illinois beats them bad. And Illinois appears to be the better team this year. I don't think they're necessarily as I don't know if the gap's as wide as what we saw tonight. But Illinois played an extremely good game and shows what they can do when they are on fire like that. And they only needed a half. They only shot 23% from the three in the second half, and they only shot 28% in the second half. But the Illini ended up 40% and 34% for the game, and that really let you see, in terms of what was going on, that really let you see that first half how devastating Illinois can be when they all are firing on pretty well. So it was an exciting one, but I don't know that there is I don't know. Like I said, you're never as good as you look on your best game, and you're never as bad as you look. But I just think that the fatal flaw in this that Woodson just doesn't understand is if you can't score from the three and you can't spread teams out, you're probably not going to win when you play the better teams.
No, and Mike, he made no adjustments. I don't get it. I didn't see anything. There was no game plan. There was the beginning of the game, and maybe it was just bad defense when they left Kasparis. Maybe that was it. I take that back. I can't lie. That would be wrong of me. They did try to feed the big fella down low. They did try to feed him because Illinois really didn't have an answer for him. So I guess if that was their game plan, those hard twos, it didn't work. But I don't think it matters. This is one of these performances where Illinois came out, and this was one of those performances where people say, hey, this is a Final Four team. This team could beat anybody. They came out and they played extremely well. And another guy that's not going to, when you look at the stat sheet, Mike, another guy that's not going to make you think, oh, my goodness, this guy was great tonight was Ben Humrickhouse. He had 7 points and 5 rebounds. But look at his rebound performances over the last few games. He was 3 of 6 from the field. He only forced one really bad shot. I'm encouraged with what he brings to the table. I think in the Big Ten tournament or in the NCAA tournament, he could be a big factor because teams won't have an answer for him right now. I mean, teams are defending him differently, but I think the way he's playing, I'm really impressed with and encouraged because he's made a lot of big strides from the beginning of the season to now.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, it's obviously clear, he's not going to be the leading scorer on the team. But I think he can be a really big weapon just because of what we've been talking about. He has the ability to spread the zone, to spread the court. And if you don't go out on the three, just like tonight, it was 1 for 3, but you don't go out there, he's going to have a pretty nice shot at making it. And if you do go out there, then that leaves him the opportunity to hit somebody else. I thought the team was relatively unselfish tonight and was good at getting the ball out there and having, getting that teamwork. The Illini ended up with 14 assists and only 6 turnovers. That's the type of ratio you'd love to have all year long.
Oh, without a doubt. And I want to throw a statistic out there. I mean, I'm trying to see if I can confirm this, but everybody knows, how well Illinois did when they went to Oregon and how well they played. Another record for the Illini, if this is correct, the 94 points that Illinois scored tonight is the most of any team against Indiana at Assembly Hall that wasn't in overtime. So they're just breaking records. So my little Indiana fans that I know in this area, after I get done with this lovely podcast, that's going to be one statistic that I tweeted them or text them first. I mean, that's huge to score 94 points in regulation. And I think that was probably tweeted as a shot at Mike Woodson because, I'm looking on some of the message boards and some of the Twitter feeds. They're not happy with him.
Yeah. I think it also comes down. I believe Sturdy had put a note out there that the most that Illinois has ever beat Indiana by at Assembly Hall, I believe, was 24 points in 1956. If I remember that stat correctly, this would now be the biggest loss that Illinois has handed the Hoosiers over in Bloomington. And that's a heck of an accomplishment to do that. Yeah, actually, the second largest 25-point victory is the second largest by an opponent at Assembly Hall, but I do believe it's the biggest by Illinois. And that, like I said, that record was set in 1956, which was me minus 11. So that's a nice long record there, 68 years, and Illinois gets an opportunity to pass that up. I wanted to go through a couple things for people who are maybe driving or going from point A to point B, and they don't have any stat sheet in front of them. But Rickhouse had 7 points, 5 boards. Boswell had 22 points. 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Ivisic had 17 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. White had 5 points, 6 rebounds. Jakusionis had 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. And to be honest, Underwood called off the Dogs because he had 19 at the half, and he could have had a lot more had he so desired. Gibbs Lawhorn, I thought he had some really good stretches, had 12 points, 2 boards. And then Will Riley was 2 for 5, and he had 2 boards and 2 assists. Jake Davis did not score, but had 2 rebounds, and Morez had 5 points and 10 boards. So a very nice stretch across the team. I thought there was a lot of contributions. And I'm going to say something, Ked, and I want you to give me your response. But I thought in the second half, when Ivisic and Jakusionis were out, I thought Boswell actually carried the team there for a while. He scored, he moved the ball and got guys open. I thought overall, he literally took the team on his back for a few minutes and said, you guys, you're in some foul trouble. Let me help. And I thought he did a great job.
Well, this is not a knock on Kylan Boswell, but I thought last Saturday against USC, Coach Underwood was talking about pounding all the nails on the hardwood. I think some of that was directed to him. I thought he did a lot of one-on-one action last week. Today, I didn't see that. I saw him move the basketball a little bit more. I saw him try to get his teammates involved. I thought he took better shots today. So you're right. I thought he did a really, really good job. And I have to give Drayvon Gibbs-Lawhorn credit too, Mike. I think he scored the biggest of the last 4 games, and he was huge because he's the backcourt guy when KJ went on foul trouble. And so tonight was a lot better because USC was a little bit bigger, and I thought they took advantage of Drayvon and Kylan together in the backcourt. I didn't see that today. I thought Kylan walled up. I thought he was better even defensively during that run that you just mentioned. So, and he had a quiet 22 points, in my personal opinion. He really did. And the thing with him was frustrating is that he left about 6 points on the board because he missed his easy bunnies, and he had 7 rebounds. That's the third most on the team next to Ivica and Morez Johnson.
Yeah, and his rebounding is shocking to me because he's not a particularly long athlete, and he's not particularly a great leaper. You know, he can get up there, but he kind of needs to gather himself. But I thought that it was really, really good, and I was. Like I said, I think he's done much better than my expectations for him, which basically shows that I didn't know what the heck I was talking about when it came to him. But he has been a great asset to the Illini team this year. And I will tell you, Brad Underwood is putting a nail in a lot of coaches' coffins, because coaches who want more time to get a better team, if I'm an athletic director, I say, look, man, Brad Underwood went to the Elite Eight, kept one player off of that roster, and now he's got a great team. What the heck are you doing? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree with you. And think about this. I don't remember what they did last week, Mike, but if there was one statistic of the whole night that just glaring to me, 6 turnovers on the road. 6. And they sent the Indiana fans with 10 minutes to go in the game. You saw the stadium start. You saw a lot of brown seats in that stadium. You're right. He's just knocking down doors, and he's the blueprint of Big Ten basketball. I mean, we have to finish this podcast, but I can't wait for Sunday. I'm really excited to see how that's going to go Sunday. I'll tell you what won't happen. They won't lay an egg like they did last Saturday. Don't know the outcome, but they're not going to lay an egg Saturday. I can assure you, because I put on our message board what the practice was like Sunday and how long it was after they got beat.
Well, and you know, bottom line is if you're traveling like that, you get to do bed check and all that, and make sure everybody's all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the morning, because you get them in bed by 8 o'clock at night. So you, at least you could do that a little bit too. You know, people are asking, you know, does Woodson survive the year? He's going to be there all season. There's no doubt. I don't know. What is it? If he doesn't make it this year, what is that? 4 out of 5 years he doesn't go to the tournament. I'm not certain that cadre of older Woodson supporters, I'm not certain that even they would be on his side if you have another year like that. I'm totally speculating here, Ked, but I would think that the lack of NCAA appearances is going to catch up with you at a place like Indiana.
It's going to. I think he's only been to a tournament twice. Here's the issue, and it's tough. These coaches are being paid a lot of money, and the competition is hard. I mean, you have to win. You have to be able to go out to compete. You cannot do what Indiana did today. You know, yes, they won a national championship in the 1900s. Bottom line is their fan support is huge. People still believe that they can win, and they can. What has happened to Indiana, teams like Illinois, Michigan State, I think, and Wisconsin, they passed them by. They don't have the right guy. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not a fan of Mike Woodson. I'm just not. I don't see him do anything as far as making any adjustments, doing anything to help his team win. They went out and got beat by Iowa. And what did you see tonight? They knew Illinois was going to come in, an angry Illinois basketball team. You had them at home, and you came out and played like that. The fans aren't going to be happy. And Mike, I mean, let's be honest. You know, the administration, they don't like that. You were 10 minutes to go in the game at Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana. The fans left at the 10-minute mark. That's not going to bode well for him. There'll be conversations. We won't know about it. But this team has talent, but I think they've underachieved. They have really and truly underachieved. And I want to make one more comment about Boswell. I forgot. I don't want to backtrack. If you look at Brad Underwood, Mike, every year he's coached, his guards always have to rebound. And whether it be Io, Terrence Shannon, he forces his guards to rebound. And one of the things I remember him saying to me personally, I was talking to him one time during a workout once, and he said to me, there's a recipe for winning on the road. He gave me 4 of them. One of them was to have his guards rebound. Most teams don't focus on that. One of the 4 things he mentioned was that, and you look at Kylan Boswell, you look at Kasparov, he only had 3 tonight, but he averages 5 or 6.
Yeah, and I do think as I look, let's go to to Woodson. I guess I did misspeak because he's done it two out of the 3 years there, and I guess I kind of blew the Archie Miller era in as well. But maybe they need to go back to Tom Crean. Who would have thought that folks would be pining, the Indiana fans would be pining away for the Crean era? But I'm looking at what they've done, and really, I mean, they made it to the 3 Sweet 16s under Crean. And then, Mike Davis had that 2001, 2002 year where they ended up going to the title game and losing, and then you've really got to go back to, gosh, the end of Bobby Knight. They had a bunch of first and second round one, but I guess, in 92, they made it to the Elite Eight. It's been a rough road to hoe for them. But if you make it to the tournament every year, you get an opportunity to go far, and once you start missing the tournament, boy, it gets tough. So I'm thinking, if I'm looking right now, I'm thinking that this year, if they don't make it to the NCAAs, I got to think that the support that Mike Woodson has will quickly evaporate, and then he will kind of be on his, probably that be it for him, and then you'll have Mark Cuban and a group that will look for another coach and see who that might be to take over Indiana.
Well, I will say this. I do think they're a tournament team. I do believe that. And I also think he'll get one more year. And if they don't, it's an attractive job. It is a Big Ten job that's attractive. They have unbelievable fan support. That's why this isn't going to last long. They're going to have to win games, or whoever gets the job, but they'll get somebody really, really good. I don't know why you wouldn't. I applaud Indiana for giving him a chance. He's a former player, and he is competitive. I think he's rude and arrogant. I don't know why he's arrogant, and I don't care if Indiana fans let him hear this. He hasn't done anything to be arrogant to me. Yes, it's Indiana basketball, but what has he won or done to have that kind of attitude, in my personal opinion? So, yeah. But I'm not I cover them. I don't have any interest in covering them. I like when Illinois beat them. To me, they're not a rivalry. They've made a beat Illinois a few times. To me, I'm more interested in beating Purdue than Indiana. I mean, because Matt Painter has it going over there at Purdue. Mike Woodson doesn't for me.
Yeah, no, and people, like I said, our era, we grew up hating both Indiana and Purdue because they had two great coaches and they were harder than heck to beat. And recently, Painter has certainly cornered that market in the Big Ten year in and year out, along with Tom Izzo. And I hazard a guess that, the last 5 years, Brad Underwood is getting into that category as well. And you probably had Bo Ryan raise up and then retire, and that was probably your guys that just caused people a lot of problems. And Illinois hasn't had that great coach since Bill Self, and now they're back. Looking at the game tonight, I thought there was a lot of things to look at. The main thing for me was during the stretch of fouls that got called, and then afterwards when Kasparis and Ivisic was off, they were sitting. I thought Illinois retained their cool and was able to keep the momentum going. And at least when every time Indiana started to do some type of run, Illinois would answer it.
Mike, they did. This team they're young. They're young, but they're extremely, extremely talented. Tonight, I don't know. Every game I say this. In the beginning, I knew coming in, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, the orange Kool-Aid, if you will, about Kasparis. And then I saw he kind of struggled. But every game now, he's getting better and better. And his ability to shoot basketball, the last 2 or 3 games, he looks like an NBA player, and he's just getting better and better. And like you mentioned earlier, I think Underwood called the dogs off. I think he could have kept going, and he's going to be a tough matchup for people because he's tall. Tonight, I thought his size, was a big factor. And this team overall, when they're clicking like this, again, this is a team that we think that has the potential to do really, really well. And, I mean, they may not shoot the ball well, in the tournament, because I know in the NCAA tournament, you're not going to get a dud performance. You're just not. They may not, again, they may, go 0 for 18 from 3 and, shoot 26% from the field, but the effort to be there. This team is really, really special. I don't think you're going to have another bad performance like you had last Saturday again, and they're going to lose some games. That's going to happen again. But to me, going on the road, doing what they did, and and watching guys who just do little things. Morez Johnson, yeah, he had 5 points, but he had 10 rebounds. Mike, he played 18 minutes. That is it.
I swear to God, he had a block shot in there too.
I think so too. Yep. I believe so too. And I'll tell you another thing with KJ, he played 33 minutes. He played more minutes than anybody on the team. So maybe the rest that he had for 2 days, I know he practiced, he really did, but maybe the rest was good for him, and maybe that's what they needed going down the stretch, because he had been logging a lot of minutes, and he's going to continue to log minutes.
Yeah, we got the Ken Palm update number 9. So that's one that Brad Underwood says he pays attention to, and he doesn't pay too much attention to the polls.
Yes, he does. He has to say that he does, because why?
They may make him mad, but I think he's worried about this one, because this one's used by the NCAA.
Of course.
Now, from a pride standpoint, you just want to make sure you do get into the right things. I look at this overall. As I look at this team, like you said, Rickhouse had a nice game. Boswell played very good. Trey White was quiet tonight.
I thought he struggled.
Do you think he got off track on some of the physicality and maybe got distracted by because let's face it, Luke Goody can talk up a storm. Maybe he got distracted by some of the verbiage and maybe the back and forth, and maybe that threw him off a bit.
If I had to say one player last Saturday, if I was a coach that I was somewhat disappointed in last Saturday, it would have been Trey White. There was one time sitting there press row, I watched him stand, and he didn't go after a rebound. He always does that. Tonight, I thought his energy was there, but I thought he struggled offensively, Mike. He still missed a couple bunnies, and he looked like he did earlier in the season. But you know what? It could just be a bad game or two, and hopefully when they play Michigan State, because they're going to need his athleticism, when they play the Spartans up in East Lansing on Sunday at 11 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time. I just hope right now that he figures it out, and some of those little 4 or 5 foot shots, when he was on the West Coast, that was money. He was averaging like 15 or 16 a game, and players go through that. It's not the end of the world. And from a coaching standpoint, I have to give Coach Underwood credit too, and this may upset a lot of Will Riley fans. He came in the game, the substitution pattern changed a little bit tonight. He didn't get into the game, and he didn't get as many minutes as he typically has. Will Riley only played 10 minutes tonight. And for a guy that has been struggling, I don't think that's bad. He was getting 25 minutes a game, maybe 15. Great. Honestly, I give Coach Underwood credit. He went to the bench early, and he went to the guys who did well on the West Coast. He went to Jake Davis, and he went to Drayvon Gibbs-Lawhorn. So I'm great with that. I think that's a good coaching move. People don't want to give Coach Underwood credit for some things. Tonight I saw that. This is the first game where I didn't see Will Riley get into the game within the first few minutes. Garrett Baker, don't get me started, because that frustrates me. I text Mike and our group text about that comment from Garrett.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I think I put on Twitter a couple weeks ago that more as his dad should keep a phantom foul stat that they can publish, because I think he's got more than anybody. There was one game where I think he fouled out and 3 of the 5 fouls, I'm not certain he had any physical contact with the person that was going to the free throw line. So I do think there's something about a big from Illinois and a big from as a freshman, and you put those two together, and apparently that just makes referees start blowing whistles left and right. I don't think they can help themselves.
No, they can't. And Morez used to get frustrated. I don't think he even cares anymore. He shows no facial expression. He knows they're going to call him, and I know exactly which foul they're talking about. It was in the first half. He played really, really good defense, and I give the coaches credit, because last Saturday he kind of jumped a little bit. It was soft. Tonight, he didn't do that. And I don't understand. It's like they feel like they have to call a foul. No, you don't. You don't have to call a foul. He did a really good job. So I'm glad to see that comment from Garrett, because I got frustrated. Garrett, I'm in a ton of group texts, and my language was really bad when that foul happened, because I know that's something that they worked with Marez on, because last Saturday, like I mentioned, he did it 2 or 3 times, and tonight he did a much better job, and I just thought that was a call for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's where, you just got to find ways for him to play. And I think ultimately the refs got to start understanding, and they have to look at it a little better. You can't just say, the freshman's underneath there, and automatically call the foul on him. One other thing that popped up on the CBS stat sheet, Riley played 16 minutes tonight, and Ked and I use the media stat sheet that comes out from the Big Ten. I guess it's either school, whoever plays. And on that, now there's just, I'm not certain which will be proven correct, but Ked is quoting right off there with the 10 minutes. So
I know which one's going to be correct, Mike. I'm sorry to cut you off. The one that's going to be correct is this one that we look at, the one that the media, this is the official. This is what they have to go by. And no disrespect to the CBS, because I follow Yahoo and some of those sports sites and ESPN. Those are not the official ones. So I hate to say that, but they'll get it corrected, but that's not right. He only played 10 minutes tonight.
Yeah, and look, I hope himself and his parents don't get too worked up about that, the playing time, because what really needs to be looked at, and this is a journey, and Ked and I have coached, Brad's coached, you're looking at taking a kid from point A to point B during the season, and Will needs to worry about that journey of improvement more than how many minutes he plays or what his stats are. And I liken that to the kid. Think about the kid when your kids are playing Little League. That kid who's trying to hit a home run every time, and he'll have one massive home run all season long and 43 strikeouts, and the kid will only talk about that one home run. But the bottom line is, you want to play, you got to focus on making contact with the ball and getting better, and that'll take care of you playing. And in basketball, instead of worried about minutes and your stats, just worried about doing what the coach is asking you, and that will get you the playing time. Now, folks, we have on live from his car, Mr. Brad Sturdy, who has been there at the assembly hall and probably had a lot of fun tonight. Brad, what were your impressions of that game tonight?
Well, I mean, you got to give Illinois credit. They came out ready to go. They were dominant from the tip. I mean, even when Indiana hit a few shots early, I think they scored on their first three possessions, 4 of their first 5. They were all exactly the shots Illinois wanted them to take. And then, Illinois was getting whatever they wanted in that first half, offensively, and they shut them down defensively. Just a completely dominant performance. It's rare when you say the score was 94-69 and it wasn't that close. It was just, but that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. A couple of things, Brad. Could you guys tell what Luke did to piss off Tomislav? Because we've never really seen him get angry in a game, but he was angry tonight.
It was just that check. He checked him there as he was blocking out, and he kind of hit him in the abdomen there. I think it kind of, got Tommy kind of good, and he kind of, and he didn't go back like physically, but he definitely let him know. And then it just, at that time, Indiana's frustrated, and so people are going to act out a little bit.
Well, Brad, let me ask you real quick. Did Coach Underwood mention the no handshake at the end of the game? Did that come up at all?
Yeah, he and Mike shook hands, and they just decided it was best tonight not to shake hands. With just the way the game was flowing, and so many people were fired up, they just thought it was better. I agree with them, because you don't want anybody getting suspended for a long time, or 1 game, 2 games, whatever. you got to have all your guys around. Illinois needs those, especially getting into, probably arguably the most difficult game they have on the schedule.
Yeah. As you were there, we talked about a couple things. One was that awful start to the second half where Illinois made some dumb fouls and then the ref made some dumb calls. 7-1 advantage for Indiana, but Illinois didn't let them get any closer than 16. Did that seem like a big moment to you? How they didn't collapse under that pressure?
Yeah, I agree, and especially you had Yakuchonis having 4 fouls, and they come back. Indiana's kind of sliced a little bit into the lead. He has 4 fouls, and then now you have now you're looking at it and saying, okay, well we've got to step up, and they did. Boswell hit a 3, I think, and they got out in transition. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn hit a bucket. I mean, every time Indiana made a little run, Illinois had an answer for it, and that's what good teams do. And you're never going to beat a Power 5 team by like 100, so you're not going to consistently just keep scoring 40 points against them. It just doesn't work that way. So they're going to keep battling, and Indiana, they've got guys. I mean, Balo was, he was Arizona, right? Luke Goody is Illinois. They were on winning teams, so their guys are going to compete. They're going to be, they're going to fight, and at the end of the game, it probably got a little out of hand, and that's why you have the ejections and the technicals and things like that. But at the same time, it's frustrating. And I know there's some talk about not having your starters in at that point. I get it. But it's a different world than it used to be because analytics matter. How many you win by does matter. That's how you move up in the net rankings. And that's how you move up on Ken Palm. That's how you make that and make statements. And the other side is Indiana never took they had 2 starters, 1 foul out and 1 get ejected. But the other 3 guys played till the last buzzer. So, I don't know. It's hard to say, we should take them out because, for this reason. But at the same time, it's like, man, do you want to let them cut it down to 15 and make it a 15, 18-point win? I mean, that's not something you want either.
Right. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that because I had a couple of friends mention to me to get some of the star players out, but I understand it. I actually didn't know that until last year because Illinois was beating a team of 20, and I think Coach Underwood put up he put up another 15 or 10 or 15 points. But it does matter now, and I hate to say that because a lot of people want to see Kerry Booth play, and I understand that. And I'm not saying by playing him you're going to lose the lead, but right now, at the end of the day, it is. It's not like it was in 2005 or 2015. It matters now. I mean, how many points you win by and the fact that it was on the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a huge win. They're going to move up in the net. They went up 3 spots in Ken Palm. They're now back in the top 10. I mean, just because you win by a lot. It's not just winning. It's margin as well.
Yeah, and I thought that Boswell really stepped up when both Tomislav and Kasparis were off the court with 4 and 3 fouls. I thought he really was a great focal point, like you mentioned, but he scored. He got the ball to other guys. I thought he took the ball down court and picked up pace and got a foul on an Indiana player and a couple free throws.
Yeah.
I really thought he dominated, but boy, he really set the tone and made sure that Illinois actually started to grow their gap again.
Yeah, I didn't think Boswell played well in the first half. I thought, he was just defensively he was fine. I thought he did a good job defensively. Offensively, he seemed out of rhythm. I think it was. Remember, he had the ball in his hands for 40 minutes for 2 straight games, basically, except when he had to go out of the game. So, now you go back and now you're off, and I think he had to adjust to it. But man, the minute he, they needed it, he stepped up. He made a big 3. He got to the rim. He got out in transition. He got fouled. He goes to the line, knocks down free throws. I mean, I thought he was really good in the second half, and his defense continued to be fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One thing, I'm not certain that this was anything you'd be aware of, but I guess Woodson skipped the post-game radio appearance tonight. So could you tell a frustration from him? Because he didn't even look like he cared during the game. I mean, it was remarkably, as somebody said on our messages here, Lovey-esque.
I don't know if we lost Brad or not, and hopefully he can respond to that real quick. But I'll tell you what, I'll say it again. He looked like he didn't care at all. I'm really sorry. He did not make any adjustments. I saw nothing. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry about that, buddy.
No, I thought he was definitely frustrated. I think he was a little bit beaten. I mean, this is and this is hard to fathom though. They were in the first half they were chanting "Fire Woodson." So this is a guy who's basically an Indiana legend. This would be like bringing back Darren Williams and having him chant "Fire Williams." You know what I mean? Like or D Brown. You know what I mean? So I think it's hard to take a little bit and. There's a lot of pressure on him right now, and I think it was, he was very frustrated with the performance, and that's 2 games in a row where they've just been, bludgeoned. One was on the road, but at least, this one's at home, and this is the second worst loss they've ever had in the Assembly Hall. They lost to Wisconsin back in 2010, but that was when they were trying to rebuild after, the post-Kelvin Sampson, scorched earth. And then tonight, and this is the biggest win by Illinois. The last time Illinois beat Indiana by this much in Bloomington was 1956.
Yeah, was that by 24 points, Brad?
24, correct. 1956, 24 points, and won by 25 tonight. So it's the biggest win in Bloomington ever for Illinois.
Brad, just for those people who want to know, Brad was born in 1956, so that was the year of his birth.
I'm not quite that old. I felt like it tonight upstairs. I tell you what, they put the media up, and you got to take the stairs and then all the way down the floor at the end to go interview the players and coaches. And I'm telling you what, whoop, it was good.
Well, there was nobody there. There was no crowd there by that time, though.
Yeah, because they all left.
Anybody? I tell you what, that was the most. So at game time, now there were 12 rows empty of student section, and there's about 40 in each row in that section. Like 400, 500 people. Now they start filling in as the game went on. By halftime, that had spread out, and they were less than they were when the game started. And they didn't even. I mean, it was very sparse crowd for Indiana. Back in the days when Tom Crean was there and they were terrible, they had more fans than that. I mean, this is a fan base that definitely is frustrated with the way things are going.
Well, and you mentioned they were talking about fire Mike Woodson. A lot of the students, they don't remember him. They don't remember his history and what he did for Indiana back in the day. But it still doesn't matter. You got to win games. You still, whether it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Shaq, you have to win games. And they're not. They just, when they played against Iowa, they didn't look competitive. And tonight, they got beat by a team that was hungry. And Brad, I said this before you came on the air. You would think by being at home, after being embarrassed, you're playing a ranked team, what it matters. What I think with Illinois, because this is the part of them being young, Illinois sometimes I don't think understand. They are the team that people need to beat. They are the team that's attractive. When these coaches talk about Illinois, when they're on their schedule, we beat Illinois, this is our marquee win. This is our game that we need. And you would think Indiana would kind of have that kind of same feeling, but they didn't. They looked like they didn't care, and they looked like Mike Woodson to me. I mean, I know he was sitting at press row, but his mannerisms tonight, I think he's defeated. But at some point in time, the players have to play as well. They just looked like they were flat, and they didn't make shots either. I mean, and they had open looks. I mean, Illinois played great defense, but Indiana didn't make a lot of shots. I mean, they were 4 for 18 from 3. I don't think they made the first 3 until it was 6, 7, 8 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah. The other thing I think that's interesting about the way this Illinois team is played, Brad, how much pressure is Brad Underwood putting on the rest of the conference when you have an Elite 8 team, you lose all your players except one, and then you're able to have, 25 and 30-point victories on the road against well-regarded Illini teams. Opponents.
There were people talking about that, 9 or 10 new guys. I mean, people were like, he's got 10 new guys. Then, some of the Indiana people, they got 10 new guys, and they're whipping us, So this was definitely, I think it goes to show that you just put guys in position to be successful, and it, put a group together, and they fit together. They multiple ball handlers. They have size. They can shoot it. They're they're long, and all of that it just kind of pieced together. And Brad has really done a great job coaching them because we've talked about this. This team is ranked like 10th in the country in defensive efficiency. That's insane when you have 10 new guys. And it's not like they have 10 uber athletic, crazy. I mean, these guys are just, they play sound position defense. They follow scouting reports. And, Ked, you mentioned the open threes. Indiana did have open threes, but they were the guys that only wanted to have open threes. And that's a big part of shutting down a team, is making sure that the right guys for you defensively are taking those shots. And the one thing, my biggest thing with Coach Woodson is Indiana is running an offense that is basically from the 1970s. It's before the three-point line. It's curls off of pin downs and shooting 15-foot jump shots contested. I mean, it's like watching the 76 Indiana Hoosiers, but not as good. And so I just don't, you with the three-point line and the spacing, there's no spacing. And it's very hard for them because there is no spacing. They trade up jumpers, Illinois. And if you're going to shoot twos, the other team's going to shoot threes, and they're going to get offensive rebounds, and you're not, then you're going to lose, like every time.
Yeah, I think that inability to adapt to this new world is killing him. And I look at, like, for example, you go over to the football side of things. When Nick Saban decided he was going to start using running, mobile quarterbacks, and he was going to get the ball out all over the field, that let me know that was how you win in college football, when the biggest winner was adapting how he did things. And, you're seeing guys like Dan Hurley and the offense and what he's putting out on the court compared to what Woodson's trying to throw out there. Woodson's got a great team if it was 1985.
Well, you're right, because Brad's right. They don't look – well, you know what? They did a lot of that. Maybe they were doing that, the curl action and getting to the basket because their three ball wasn't falling. I don't know. I mean, I don't watch them enough. I'll watch them occasionally if there's no other game on, just to be watching it. But you're right. In a game like this, it didn't matter. And Brad, you're right, because Coach Underwood did talk about the fact that they let guys shoot the ball who traditionally don't make threes. I know last Saturday against USC that didn't work very well for them, but tonight they really did, and the numbers, they played in Illinois' favor.
Yeah, no question. I thought, they follow the scout, follow the game plan, and that's what you have to do. And I'm just. This was a game I thought Illinois, I predicted they would win. I thought it always would be a lot closer. But at the same time, I never expected to completely blush Indiana. And I've watched Indiana play a few games. I've seen them look okay, but they're not very good. And I don't mean this in a bad way. They're just not a very good team. And with the NIL dollars that Indiana has and the backing that they have in their athletic basketball program, they should never be this bad. They really shouldn't.
And I don't think it's a money thing, Brad. I just think that Mike Woodson doesn't know how to put together a roster. He reminds it's a little bit like John Gross out there.
Yeah, no question about it. That's what I mean. You have the money. You have the money to invest and get players, but they don't have. They just don't have the players. And Renault being out obviously is a factor, but I'm not sure it helps them. Because they play two bigs and they have less spacing. So it's just not a system that's going to work. It's not a roster that's put together well, as you said. And on the other hand, you have Brad Underwood throwing together a roster of guys, and I think Brad's figured out how to do this and on the fly, just put things together. Hey, we need this guy, and how are we going to build around this guy? And they take it and they found we've got KJ. So we need a bunch of shooters around guys like him, a guy like him. And that's where Big Davis fits. It's where you get that guy who can create the other kind of spaces the same way. I mean, he's such a good player with ball passing, spacing the floor. He hit the one from the 30 feet there tonight. So this is just, it's an impressive roster that Underwood's put together, but it's an impressive roster, you look out there and you don't say, this guy's so athletic and just dominant that he can just go dunk on somebody. Well, they don't have that guy. But they fit together really well, and they play together really well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Hey, one thing I wanted to say, folks, is Brad, Ked, and I, thanks to everybody who's watching or listening now as we do this live show. We are over 3,000 people right now when you add up the Twitter feeds with the YouTube. So we really appreciate it. If you could, like this, we would really appreciate it. If you could go to YouTube, get us, and subscribe to the IlliniGuys.com channel. And also, if you could follow us on Twitter, that would be great. But most importantly, if you enjoy the conversation that you're hearing here, the best place to be is IlliniGuys.com, where we have conversations behind the paywall in our message boards, where Brad and Ked can talk about the rumblings, the rumors, things that we couldn't publish as a story, that we wouldn't talk about on a podcast, because there's not somebody who will back it up. So, nobody's going to come forward and say, yeah, I'll be the source for this. So we might have to tell you, well, this is what the tea leaves are saying, or this is what we kind of see directionally. You hear about everything first, but sometimes we got to keep it back there behind everything, because you're not going to publish something that there's nobody with, that is willing to kind of say they're the source. So IlliniGuys.com, it's only 27 cents a day, $99 a year. We have not raised our price since we started 4 years ago. We started actually 4 years ago Sunday. So we're 4 years and 2 days old. Of course, Brad and Ked have been covering Illini sports for over 20 years each. So there's a lot of experience there. Plus, Larry's been covering big-time sports for 30 years. And we would love to have you become a member. And one thing you guys can do, we really appreciate all the messages and everything. The one thing we also appreciate is if you can share us on your social media to your friends. If you have friends that are Illini fans, give them a link and text it to them, and we would love to be a part of that as well. And, of course, the next game coming up is Michigan State on Sunday morning, 11 a.m. It is going to be early, and it's on CBS, and it's going to be brutal, because Tom Izzo he's not going to go quietly in the night. And he's got a team that most people thought was middle of the pack Big Ten, and he's got them up on top. Ked has a lot of insight in that team, because he obviously has contacts with the parents on that team. And Ked, this game should be a classic up there in Michigan State.
Well, I want to say a couple of things here real quick. One of the things about our message boards, you're going to get to see my 99.999% prediction that I had last Saturday that the fans won't let me live down. That's number one. And Sunday is kind of for me, for Ked, personally, this is a personal game. So I'm just going to call a spade a spade. To Mr. Fears, who's listening to this podcast, it's on Sunday, my friend. It's on Sunday. Sunday is a big game, and I can tell you this. It's 11 o'clock game. Last Saturday, the Illini played 11 o'clock. They were sleeping. They won't be sleeping Sunday. I wish this game was at 2 o'clock, but it's not. For the people who go to church, record it. This is going to be a war, and I think this game potentially, both teams could probably score 100 points. Now, from a defensive standpoint, the coaches won't like it. But I can assure you right now, if Illinois shoots the basketball well, if they shoot the ball well, they will beat Michigan State. But if they go up there, they get in foul trouble. If KJ gets in foul trouble or Ivica gets in foul trouble, I think it's going to be a long day for them. You can tell that the coaches had conversations with certain people, because Ivica had been sleepwalking the last few games. Today he did. He had a double-double. He went back to his same self. 6 of 12 from the field, 17 points and 11 rebounds. And get this, he had 4 assists tonight. He only played 25 minutes. So he is a big part of this team. I don't think people realize, we know KJ is going to be the money man and he's going to be the lottery pick. I get all that stuff. But when Ivica plays well and they get that two-man game going with him and KJ, look out. Because if he's making shots, and the key Sunday, put Michigan State, make the fans be quiet early. come in and do exactly what you did at Indiana night. Take the crowd out of the game. Put your foot on their throats and don't let them get back in the game, because this is one of the most athletic teams in the Big Ten. I'm going to tell you, I've said it before, the three best teams in the Big Ten, Illinois, Michigan, and Michigan State. This is a statement game where you can go up there and steal another one on the road because you lost to a team last Saturday that you shouldn't have lost to. Go get that win back.
Yeah, and if you can get the win back on the road, that's huge. And that's why it was so disappointing to see Illinois lose one at home, particularly to a team that wasn't really considered a threat. So, folks, we are going to step away now. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. It was awesome to have this many people here. We will do on Sunday, we will do a halftime live. So when you're watching the Michigan State game, they go to halftime, pop over to YouTube, pop over to X, and you will see us. We will do that. And, of course, after the game, we will go immediately after the game on Sunday. It should be a ton of fun. We are all looking forward to this. Tom Izzo's one hell of a coach. I know he drives folks crazy in Illinois, but he just wins. And, we're starting to have a coach, Brad Underwood, who drives people crazy when he wins around the Big Ten. So it should be the battle of two coaches who really enjoy ruining days and games for their opponents. We're excited to watch it. So with that, we will be back, and go Illini.